Hi everyone, I'm hopeful that all you will be fine. In the last session, we have learned how you can actually get the recording analytics summary using the Zoom Cloud Recording REST API. Okay, we are keep continuing with the recordings REST API, and in today's session, we will learn how you can actually get the recording analytics details. Okay, in the details, you will get the date and time regarding the watch and downloading of the recording, and also you will get the username, user email. Okay, for that we first need to create a const variable for that relative path inside the Zoom constant. So we say here recording analytics detail. Okay, and we need to pass the meeting ID. Okay, meeting ID is a required parameter. We need to use the string interpolation, and here we say recording base API. Need to pass the meeting ID. Okay, so here's a typo mistake, and then we need to append recordings and analytics details. Okay, so it is the details, and at the bottom we need to export that helper. So we say recording analytic details, need to format the code, and inside the Zoom recording helpers we need to build the helper for that recording analytic details. First we need to import the relative path helper. At the bottom we need to create a helper called recording analytics details. We need to say async, need to pass the meeting ID here, and we also pass the filter. Okay, so inside the meeting ID, so meeting ID basically is a required parameter, and inside the meeting ID you can either pass integer or long number, either you can pass UUID. Okay, so if you are passing UUID, then you must be double encode. Okay, double encode that meeting UUID. Okay, and when you are going to request this endpoint, you must be have a recording read or recording read admin scope. So anyone scope from this set you have to access the endpoint or this REST API. Okay, and this endpoint have a medium rate limit. That means you can only request 20 requests per second if you have a pro plan, and if you have a business plus, then you can request 60 requests per second. Okay, and inside the filter you can pass the type. Inside the type you can pass any one value from this set. Either you can pass by view, either you can filter the records by download. Okay, and this type is a required parameter also, so you must be need to pass the type, and if you are not going to pass the type, then you will respond an error. Okay, and other query parameters we have inside the filter called from and to. Okay, inside the from and to you need to set the date range, and date must be in the format of YYY and DT format. Okay, and the date range must be a 1 month long. Okay, and that 1 month must be lie in a past 6 months only. And then you can also pass the page size, and inside the page size you can set the value in the type of integer number. And by default, if you are not going to set, this is a basically optional parameter. If you are not going to set that, then default value of the page size is 30, and you can only max set this to 300. Okay, and if the records are greater than page max size, that means if the records are greater than 300, then you will have a next page token, and you can set the next page token for the next request. Okay, so inside the next page token, you will set the next page token which you have in the response of your previous request. Okay, and now let's start to build the request. So we say const data, here we say await, and we need to configure the axios. Here we say URL. Inside the URL we use string interpolation. Here we call the recording analytic detail helper. Inside that we need to pass the meeting ID. Okay, and we also need to bind the filter. Okay, so basically filter is the object. We need to build the query from that. So for that we need to import a package called query string, and we say require. Here we need to pass query string, and we need to use that here. Here we say us.stringify, and we need to pass the filter. Okay, and we need to set the method will be get, and here we need to pass the headers. Inside the headers we need to set the authorization header. Inside the authorization we need to set the bearer token. We need to use the string interpolation, and we set process.env.access token. Okay, and we need to bind then response. Here we need to return the response. We need to cage error. We need to here take if error dot data, then return error dot data. If not, then return something went wrong. Okay. Need to place semicolon, return data. Okay, and we need to export that helper here. We say recording analytic details, need to format the code, save this. And inside the recording API, we first need to import that helper. So we say here recording analytic details at the bottom. We need to create an endpoint called get API /zoom /recordings. Need to pass the meeting ID and we say analytic details. Okay. And here we say async and need to bind the request handler, request response, and we need to call the helper. We say analytic details, await recording analytic details. We need to pass the meeting ID from params meeting ID and we pass request.query. Okay. Save this. We need to return response.json and analytic details. Place a semicolon here and here. Need to format the code once again. And now we need to start the API. For this demonstration, we are using a OAuth app on a marketplace. I have already created that. Okay. And you must be navigate to the scopes tab and click on add scopes. Inside the recordings, need to select view recordings, either recording read scope. Okay, our session is expired. We need to relog in. Okay, now just navigate to the scopes, click on add, navigate to the recordings, select this, done, auto saved. Okay, now just navigate to the authorized endpoint. We say localhost 44000 API /zoom and we say authorize. Enter. We are successfully authorized. Now just navigate to our endpoint for 4000, but before that we need to place a breakpoints so we can see if there is an error or we are getting response successfully. And now just API zoom recordings, and we are now just requesting without type parameters. So hit enter. And you can see we are inside the error, and you can see inside the response data you are getting invalid parameter type. Okay. Now we need to set the parameter type. So we say type and we are setting type by view, hit enter. And now you can see we have a response 200 and okay. Okay. So I'm hopeful that you have enjoyed this session. If you have any query regarding this session, then just please place your queries inside the video comment section. Either you can share your queries and suggestions by my share contact details.